Hello and welcome. This video is addressed to the future jury of the civil lawsuit against Leon Valley Police Department, Leon Valley City, and many government agents working along with those entities, including the mayor, the manager, I believe, and the city attorney. It primarily focuses against the chief of police, Salvaggio, and the reason why I'm speaking to the future members of the jury of the civilian lawsuit that is currently pending. Now, I'm going to stay very concise and relevant to the facts. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to begin with some overhead pictures from Google that explain the layout of the police department and surrounding buildings and where the events took place. I'm then going to move on to the very quick paragraphs within the lawsuit that is filed against Leon Valley Police and Administration. I'm going to show you some quick paragraphs that are blatant lies that I can prove from their counter reply to that lawsuit. And then I'm going to show some paragraphs from the search warrant that Leon Valley Police filed with a judge, giving zero reasoning or evidence whatsoever as to why this search warrant was justified and necessary. Of course, the judge signed it anyway, sent it to Google, and now Google is about to release all of the details and contents and personal emails and comments, all of my videos, whether they're public or not, private or not. Now, I would hope that you would ask yourself, how would you feel if you had never been charged with a crime, and yet the police took a piece of paper to the judge that said, "We think this, so sign a search warrant so we can get full access to their YouTube channel." I mean, YouTube channels are kind of like journals or diaries in a way. It sends a chilling effect across the entire community if both a police department and a judge can work in tandem with no accountability or recourse to force Google to release every bit of information about your YouTube account when you're an activist trying to live as normal a life as you can, which includes family, business, romantic partners, property. It affects a lot, it goes unsaid. So I'll begin now just by moving right along to the evidence. For those of you who are not familiar, so this is where Leon Valley Police Department is located. This is like a council chambers and city administration type building. Over here is a strip mall, several businesses here, as well as in this building adjacent to that one. This is Bandera Road. It is the one and pretty much only main busy thoroughfare through Leon Valley, Texas. And it is quite often packed. During rush hour, you might wait 1, 2, or 3 lights just to get through this intersection. The places that are of note would be the entrance to the police department somewhere over here. This is a bunch of landscaping now, concrete walkways. There's a public sidewalk all along here that goes to here, and then this is a driveway that's accessible here. There were some protests here at the entrance and in the lobby area. The main point of note is in this area here is where the police chief came out and informed the group of a few dozen people that he would be holding a press conference. Those were his words, not ours, here to discuss the issues and to hopefully resolve them as quickly as possible. And of course what happened was, as soon as everybody was collected, he arrested them. Now, he was late. He said it would be at 4 o'clock, I believe. He was at least 20 minutes late. And because it was a hot day, I went across this parking lot into a store that sold water here. And and we had been buying water from that place a lot. So it was very common for people to be in and out of here. I spoke to the owner for maybe a few to several minutes, and when I came out, I took this path here, across this parking lot. When I hit this area here, I looked out and saw that in the press conference area, people were being arrested. At this point in time, I had no idea why. I did not know if someone had done something deserving to be arrested, or if any physical interaction had gone on. I just knew that people were being arrested, one of which was my roommate at the time and friend. I then proceeded. I could have, of course, turned around and ran this way, but that's not going to happen. I have friends being arrested here. I then proceeded to walk across here to a public sidewalk. When I made it about this far, an officer told me, "You, get out of here, get out of here." So I turned this way and was still filming this way to protect my friends, of course, on a public sidewalk walking this way, when I was then instructed to halt, you, stop, and they came and arrested me for no reason whatsoever. I had a camera in my hand, and that's it. So answer me, if you come out of this business here, walk across a parking lot here, which is all public, you can drive in here, no problem. There's no guard or nothing. You can park here and go to this store here if you want to. Alright, you probably can't park there overnight, or they'll tell you, but it's just fine during the day. If you were to walk across this parking lot here, go to this public sidewalk, and then try to get to here, and got arrested in the middle of it, while doing nothing and saying nothing to anyone, would you have a problem with it? If it happened to one of your loved ones, would you have a problem with it? Because that's exactly what happened, and I have live video. I was streaming live during the entire time. Myself and several others have live streaming video evidence of these events, obviously. So that's how I was arrested. Let's look at it from another angle. Here's the same busy street here, Bandera. This photograph is a bit dated. There's no more parking spaces here. This is all just a public wide sidewalk with trees and some landscaping and some benches. And there's a public sidewalk that comes out in this direction that goes here. Here was the store I exited from. I walked across the parking lot here. At this point, I saw my friends being arrested here. I was told to, "Hey, you get out of here." I started going this way to the sidewalk, and when I hit about here, they said, "Nope, stop, stop, stop." I kind of kept walking, hoping they weren't talking to me, but they were, and they came and got me and arrested me. Keep in mind, they threatened me with 3 charges at the time. From about 5 p.m. to midnight, we were all handcuffed in their jail back in here in a conference room, and I was told I was being charged with 3 offenses. The response says they were only charging me with 2. When I went to court, they were only charging me with 1, and of course that one was dismissed by the magistrate due to lack of probable cause. His words, not mine. Now these are the facts of the issue, and I have evidence, and you'll see that as part of this lawsuit.
Alright. Oh, Lord. Okay, we got an arrest in progress. Can I get a name and badge number, please, sir?
Hernandez 561, sir.
Thank you, sir. And you, sir? Hernandez 561, and who else? All right.
So they never step off city property on the sidewalk?
Okay.
That's city property, thank you.
So this has been their, this is their, why?
Guys, this is a live stream. They're taking our devices. They just took mine. This is Nomad. They just took my device for holding it.
I'm sorry?
Look at these guys are doing.
I can't hear you, please.
I need your device.
Okay, I don't want to give it to you voluntarily. Excuse me. Okay, I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting in the slightest. I'm not resisting in the slightest. I'm going to go ragdoll limp, okay? Ragdoll limp. I'm not resisting in the slightest. Not resisting in the slightest, sir. Will you please double lock that? Oh, okay, here you go. I'll drop it. There you go. Are we good? Everybody's calm, right? Nothing to be afraid of. We're good, right?
What's over here? Hey, walk with this guy over here. Okay, get him. This is this guy right here.
That's when I was arrested. Let's look at the final picture here. Here's the same angle, ground level. I came out of this door here, walked across the parking lot this way. At this point right here, I saw my friends being arrested here. I wandered away across the street after being told to leave. I was approaching along this public sidewalk here when I was told to stop, and I was arrested about right here. My plan was to go to this intersection here and simply cover the arrests so that the cops know that, hey, if they do anything that's terribly out of line, like punch somebody, it's going to be inescapable. The consequences would be inescapable because it's a live streaming video feed. Alright, so those are the events involving my arrest when I was actually arrested. Now keep in mind that was on June 23rd. On June 18th, there were a lot of protests going on in the entrance to the police station and inside the lobby there. Some people got arrested. I was not one of them. James Freeman got arrested, and I did not, even though we were doing the exact same thing, which was pointing a cell phone camera through their glass window, being quiet and staying out of the way, right? They shook the camera out of my hand. It fell off my hand when they put their hands on me to push me up against the window. It flew away from me with such force and there were so many people there, they had stormed the lobby, that I never saw it again. They claimed to have never seen it ever again. They would not give me a receipt for it, even though I went 6 times to ask for one, or to get my property back, and they still don't acknowledge that they even have it. It flew out of my hand into their lobby because they put their hands on me and they claim they don't have it. Now, if they don't have to claim they have it, then they can actually have it and do whatever they want with it, right? Because it's not on the record. They can say whatever. So I have that was the first time my phone got stolen, and I wasn't even arrested or charged with anything. I came out here and pulled out a secondary phone and continued to film the arrests that were going on out here just to make sure everything was okay. This is where Lieutenant Anderson twice assaulted me by getting within inches from my face, threatening to, start a physical confrontation, at which point I would laugh and walk away with the camera pointing over my shoulder, because I'm not going to allow Lieutenant Anderson or any other police to bait me into a physical confrontation. I'm not even angry at this point. And all the video evidence will show this, including the police camera footage, that I was nothing but calm, attempting to de-escalate everything so that my friends wouldn't get beaten up. Alright, that's where that happened. Also, when I was arrested, obviously my phone and equipment was stolen again. I've had over $500 worth of phones and equipment stolen that I can think of off the top of my head in these 2 incidences. I was not charged for anything here or arrested on the 18th, and on the 23rd, I was walking from this business across a parking lot to a public sidewalk and was arrested for doing nothing whatsoever, and all of my equipment was stolen again, after I had just replaced it all. Now, this led to us being jailed, or placed with our handcuffs behind our back for about, I would say, 6 out of the 7 hours, which is an extremely painful position, and they're aware of it, especially if you're a larger gentleman like myself, in this building area here. There was also a hot box where they would put one of us in at all times. It had no ventilation and no windows, except the one at the door where you could see out of, a very small window. And it was very warm in there, and your hands are handcuffed behind your back, and they lock you in. And the only way you can get out is if somebody takes your place. And so I expect we're going to have all kinds of footage and testimony about that, because that is highly non-standard. They did not use hot boxes in police stations. What is this, an interrogation from a prisoner of war camp? That was going on as well. Around midnight, I was then transported to San Antonio, where during in-processing, I was sexually assaulted by a female guard. Okay, who not only did an extremely rough search of my groin area, but then the last thing she did was pull my shorts and my underwear. She reached into both, pulled them about 4 to 5, 6 inches away from my body, and looked down at my genitals. And when I asked her in shock and disbelief, "You just looked at my genitals," she said, "I didn't see genitals, I saw a vagina." And that is the Deputy Goldman, that I don't know her first name, but she works at the San Antonio in-processing jail there. I was then held there overnight. Couldn't get any sleep, because if you've ever been in that jail, there's people screaming. I saw a grown man calling for his mother. I saw another guy strapped to a wheelchair, and he was punched twice in the thigh for not really resisting. He was tied down everywhere. I saw that happen within 12 feet of my eyes. That place is a horror movie. There's all kinds of crying and it's awful. I just won't go into detail. It's horrible. Then saw a magistrate around 4 in the morning. Another deputy told me I had caught another charge and that I wasn't going to be going anywhere, just for fun, just to make me afraid, but I instantly dismissed it because I knew that was nonsense. I talked to a police officer from San Antonio to file a formal criminal complaint against the Deputy Goldman, if that's her title, for the sexual assault. And then when I saw the magistrate, he dismissed the charge. I was only charged with one charge. I believe it was obstruction. And he dismissed it due to lack of probable cause. I was then taken back to my cell and held for a further 4 hours, even though I was not even charged with a crime, let alone guilty of one. And I got out about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so that's a summary of what actually went down and an overview from the map point of view. Now, what I'd also like to get into is the lawsuit. And when it comes to my portion where it explains in part what happened to me, it says this. Plaintiff Pierce was present for both the June 18th and June 23rd incidences. On June 18th, 2018, Pierce's phone was seized without any lawful basis at the direction of defendant Salvaggio, who's the chief, and defendant Anderson, who's a lieutenant and the one who attempted to fight me or provoke a fight. If I did that to a cop, you would immediately be taken to the ground and arrested and charged with assault. Despite there being no reasonable suspicion or probable cause that Pierce was involved in any criminal activity or that any criminal activity was afoot, and their own magistrate agrees with that statement. I am not facing any criminal charges whatsoever from anything to do with anything that ever happened in Texas. Despite Pierce's phone being in police custody, the police have refused to acknowledge that his phone is in their custody or provide him with a property receipt. Moving on 5 days later to June 23rd, Pierce was present for the gathering at the police station. He had a camera out and was live streaming the events. Eventually, at around 4 p.m., defendant Chief Salvaggio came outside and announced there would be a press conference soon. After waiting some time to no avail for the press conference to begin, Pierce went to a store across the street. When he emerged from the store, a short time later, he witnessed people being arrested at the press conference and having their property seized. Defendant Vasquez saw Pierce and ordered Pierce to stop. Now, that was after I was told by another officer, I don't know who, to get out of here. And that's why I turned a hard right and got on the sidewalk to get further away. Vasquez handcuffed Pierce and brought Pierce into custody in the police station without any probable cause or reasonable suspicion that Pierce was engaged in criminal activity or that criminal activity was afoot. I wasn't even at the press conference. How does the chief of police come out and arrest everyone at a press conference that he called? It's called an ambush. Nobody did anything wrong. And he stole everybody's equipment, whether they were arrested or not. Whether they were detained and released, whether they were arrested and released, or whether they were arrested, taken to a jail, and then released. He took it all, and they still have it. If you want your equipment back, he sent a letter to everybody. You have to pay $25, and you have to sign a piece of paper that says you give up all rights to sue over all of this. We still don't have our property back. Defendant Jane Doe Goldman, a female sheriff deputy, groped Pierce sexually during her search, way too hard, and she did it with force, and made sexually explicit comments to Pierce while she was purporting to conduct a search of his person. She pulled out my pants and looked down. Okay, what would happen if a male guard pulled out the shirt and bra of a female and looked at her breast? Or pulled out her pants like that and looked down at her vagina? Her labia, to be more accurate. What would happen to him? When I challenged the deputy about what she had done, when she started to roughly assault me, I said, whoa, what are you doing? I request a male guard immediately. She said, prison policy is that you don't have to. You don't get a male guard upon request. You can get searched by a female. But females, they will only be searched by other females. If you're a man, you can get searched by a female. But if you're a female, you won't be searched by a man. And as a man, if you require or request a male to do the search because this female is assaulting you sexually, too bad. And Deputy Rico confirmed that. She told me that it wasn't a sexual assault because they're allowed to do it when I complained about it. And she finally got to me hours later. Just another fellow deputy. All right? Keep in mind the sergeant, who is the direct supervisor of these two women, was very much on my side, treated me like a human being 100%, was extremely sincere and polite, and said that, even admitted that that should not have happened, and that there was a reason she was promoted and not Deputy Goldman. So this is all going to come to light, and it's just obviously a complete double standard. If what happened to me happened to a woman, well, it never would have happened in the first place, according to jail policy. But if it had, all kinds of criminal charges would have ensued. But because it happened to me, a man, it just gets dismissed, and no, that's not sexual assault. Even though I wasn't even charged with anything, and the magistrate dismissed it all. According to the state of Texas and the city of San Antonio and Leon Valley, I am innocent of anything. I'm not even charged. Right? Continuing on, it said Pierce was maliciously charged with the crime of interference, but the magistrate dismissed the charge for lack of probable cause. Okay, so interference with an investigation, maybe. My memory of that particular word that he used during that one moment during the entire 16-hour ordeal, escapes me. Pierce was in police custody for around 16 hours, including about 4 hours after the magistrate dismissed the criminal charge. Without any lawful basis and with malicious intent, defendants Anderson and Salvaggio approved or ordered Vasquez to handcuff, arrest, search, maliciously criminally charge Pierce with a crime, and seize Pierce's phone, all without probable cause or reasonable suspicion of criminal wrongdoing or any lawful basis, an obvious violation of the First and Fourth Amendments. And if a jury does not award victims of this type of police brutality, two things happen. One, the rest of the public learned that there's no point in going to courtrooms of juries and that your only redress of grievance is to be found elsewhere. And two, police continue to do it because they know they're protected no matter what they do. If you don't hold them accountable and award the victims of the police brutality encountered at the hands of Leon Valley Police Department and its chief and administration, you are going to make society a worse place and forever be known on the internet as Leon Valley, where the police can do and get away with anything. And this is just a minor underestimation. Continuing on, prior to releasing Pierce, defendants Vasquez and or Anderson gave Pierce a property receipt and a trespass warning, unlawfully warning Pierce that he would be arrested if spotted on city-owned property. When I asked them if I could get what would I have to do to get the criminal trespass removed, they said you got to call the mayor. I call the mayor, she's not answering any my calls, and she's not accepting any calls. She's not calling anyone back if you leave a message. So it's impossible for me to get that criminal trespass taken off, and it's impossible for me to even try to go get my property unless it is. Do you see the problem here? It's one after the other, after the other, after the other. This unlawful warning had a chilling effect on Pierce, and it prevented Pierce from engaging in constitutionally protected conduct, i.e. walking on public property out of fear that he would be subject to unconstitutional arrest for criminal trespass. So that's my portion of what's in this lawsuit. Of course, you'll have access to all of this. But it goes on and on and on and on and on, because again, there are about 11 or 12 of us. And 2 lawyers. On and on and on and on, all to every individual. Right? Alright, let's move on to the next one. This is Leon Valley response. Alright. I am mentioned in a few of these, the 20th, the 22nd, and the 28th. This is their response. There, I'll show you the title. Okay. Leon Valley response to the civil suit. It says here that defendants, which are the police and administrators that we're suing, would show unto the court that plaintiff Pierce was arrested for interference with public duties and failure to identify. Where is this failure to identify on any charging instrument then? Because they kept asking me for the same thing. They stole my driver's license. They have my identity, legal identity, not my true identity, but my legal identity, on the driver's license. And they kept asking me my name over and over and over and over and over and over again. Why are you asking me for information that you already unlawfully took a few days ago? You stole it. You have it. Why do you keep asking me for my name? Stop being illogical. You're not making any sense. You're acting like a crazy person. and they turned that into failure to identify and then didn't formally charge me with it? Okay, that makes sense. We're going to go on to the 22nd, their 22nd defense. The defendants, the police, and the city, deny the plaintiff's property was unlawfully seized in violation of the Fourth Amendment, as alleged. Defendants assert unto the court that plaintiffs Pierce, Bailey, and Springer. Bailey is News Now Houston. Springer is Freeman. James Freeman. Online. This says that all three of us have current criminal charges pending against them as heretofore stated. Defendants assert that since charges are pending against these plaintiffs, that this suit be stayed pending disposition of the state criminal proceedings as a matter of law. I am not facing any current criminal charges. James is, even though it doesn't make any sense for him to be because he didn't do anything wrong. Somebody posted something on his live stream and apparently he's responsible for it. Someone from Norway, by the way. And Bailey was temporarily arrested and then released. I don't even think he went to jail. I could be wrong about that. They kept us in different quarters, and I don't know when everyone got released. But I have no criminal charges pending against me whatsoever. Alright. Let's move on to the 28th. Again, defendants would show unto the court that plaintiffs Howd, Pierce, and Springer were lawfully arrested, and said charges are pending before the Bexar County District Attorney's Office. No, they're not. That's a lie. Defendants assert that since these charges are pending against plaintiffs, that the civil lawsuit be stayed pending the disposition of the state criminal proceedings. I don't have any charges against me, so this is just completely wrong. It's fraudulent. It's a lie intentionally or unintentionally. Here's the search warrant. Now, this doesn't have my name on it anywhere, but it is to 2 of the 4 people that these channels they are going after. Alright? This is how they justified it to the judge. Alright? At the bottom of this, here's the judge. Signed by Jefferson Moore, not the magistrate, a judge, and this is his signature, a circle, in the 186th District Court of Bexar County, Texas. 7th of August, 5:52 in the afternoon. Alright. State of Texas to Google, County, Bexar. Here's the address to Google in California. Whereas the affiant, the cop writing this, whose name appears on the attached affidavit, is a peace officer under the laws of Texas, and did heretofore this day subscribe and swear to aid affidavit before me, this is the judge, which said affidavit is here now made part here of for all purposes, and of course this is all legalese meant to be very confusing and hard for common English type people who only speak common English to read and understand. I'm fluent legalese, so it makes sense to me, but I'm trying to make the best of it for you. Whereas I find that the verified facts stated by affiant in said affidavit show that affiant has probable cause. Okay, I don't know where this affidavit is. Where is it? For the belief expressed therein and established existence of proper grounds for issuance of this warrant for the offense of obstruction or retaliation. Now therefore you are commanded to enter the suspected place prescribed in said affidavit. Google. Okay, so I'll get a look at the affidavit, and I'll be posting that shortly to add to this, alright? But I guarantee it's not going to have anything in there as far as why they have a justified reason to suspect me of obstruction of justice or retaliation. I'm not even facing any criminal charges. Where is there evidence that a search warrant should be signed by a judge and that my entire YouTube account should be handed over to the police, including subscriber registration information? I have over 10,000 in one channel and 4,000 in another. So somewhere around 15,000 subscribers are going to have their names on this information given to the police. Based on what evidence that I did something wrong? You want this going on in your community, in your state, in your country. All screen names associated with this account. So other screen names that I may use. Usernames associated with this account. Passwords associated with this account. If they know my username and they know my password, they can log on to my YouTube account, do and say and comment whatever they want. I'll never know about it, but then I'll be held criminally responsible for it potentially later. Why would they possibly need the extent of this information in order to go fishing? They're going to try to discredit me, obviously, in the civil suit, so that we'll lose that. But are they fishing for additional criminal charges because I point cameras at them? Emails associated with this account, all IP addresses, logs associated with this account, any physical location I've ever logged on to my YouTube accounts, ever, any and all messages, the private messages contained within your YouTube channel, comments made, sent or received by the individual account. Now keep in mind, I am huge into stand-up comedy. I will make some crazy stand-up comedy level comments. Alright? I'm a red-blooded American male. I like to laugh. And not all the stuff I do on YouTube is related to activism. So they're just fishing for anything. I mean, I'm a guy. I can engage in locker room type talk. It happens. That's the real world. Right? And they're going to use stuff like that to discredit me, or obviously file additional criminal charges later and throw me in jail, which is exactly where these people want me, as a message to the rest. Credit card information. Oh, great. So now I'm going to have to give credit card information. So now they're going to know how much I have, where I spent it, what I spend it on. And again, what's their evidence to find this justification and for a judge to put his credibility and career on the line to sign it? Sign-in IP addresses and associated timestamps so they know exactly when all this went down so they can put together some timeline. Video and photo upload IP addresses and associated timestamps. Copies of any and all videos and photos and associated video photo information. Thumbnails and my videos I've taken and uploaded, whether they're private or not. Email content. They want the contents of all of my emails. What am I, on some terrorist watch list? I am confronting domestic terrorism. This is what domestic terrorism looks like. When they have access to the privacy that's all contained in all of this, to include credit card information and IP addresses, and they give no reason whatsoever for a justified excuse to need it. I'm not even charged with a crime. I was arrested in such a way that a lawyer swooped in all the way from Michigan and took this case. No money required. Pro bono he took it. He was so confident he's going to win and just collect something later. So the email content and any other user account associated data stored, including the subject line and date and time stamps of all data if available. They are coming after all of this on us, and unless a jury does something about it, they are going to learn that they can do this to anyone, and it's going to have a chilling effect across the entire country. And what that's going to do is make people realize that they are going to have to find another way to address their grievances than the court system, and I don't want to see that happen. That points to violence. Look at history. Not everyone is nonviolent like myself. Believe it. Texas is turning into a hotbed, and it's because this is allowed to go on. If you want your communities and society to be a more dangerous place, like Texas doesn't already have enough problems with police brutality and murder, considering one was just convicted of murder and sent to prison for 15 years and the other one was just fired for another murder committed, then you might want to take into account that, gosh, maybe these people need to be held accountable. Let me end with this. In Baltimore, they have a police corruption problem as well, obviously. And the state is tired of having to back corrupt and evil police officers. They're now requiring them to carry their own insurance. And then if an insurance company won't cover them, they don't get to work as a cop. Just think about that. I think I'm going to end the video there. I'll have more to upload and more to say later. Thanks for listening.